Too sweet!
Hi, welcome to JD Sports. I'm Jarrett Hook. That's Dwight Garfield. You can find our personal Twitters at the show's Twitter page, which is @_JD Sports. Dwight, usually we're starting right off analyzing some games or talking about, what's kind of coming up here. Unfortunately, this week, we got to start off with the passing of the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali. This has been covered in so many different angles and so many different ways and so many different, the one thing that I would like just to right off the bat always think that try to put in perspective for people was, like, he was the greatest of all time. I mean, he's on Babe Ruth status. How legendary he is. And that's, I think that's rare because for the icon that he was, it seems so mythical. You look at those things in black and white and you hear him speaking, and obviously because our generation, particularly the 30 and unders, we didn't get to hear him speak a lot live on TV or anything like that. So he's almost like this mythical creature that we didn't really live through. It actually kind of probably makes it a little harder for us to cover than other people, I would say. But
yeah,
I'm loving seeing all the Ali stuff. And personally, for me, my grandfather he actually saw him at Deer Lake in Pennsylvania in the gym, and he saw him spar and box. And if I'm not mistaken,
awesome.
My parents are from about 40 minutes, not even from Deer Lake, and I don't know exactly how my grandfather got up there or invited there or what it was, but I talked to my uncle a little bit about it because I've heard the story from my mom a couple times, and I was young when my grandfather passed about 10 years ago, so I remember the stories of him telling me about Ali, and he was a very big Ali fan. It made me very interested in Ali when I was a kid, but as I got older, so I called my uncle this weekend just to see what what he recollects from it. And he said the biggest thing he remembers is he was walking in. It was a cabin, and right in the middle of the room was the ring. And he just said how ginormous Ali was, and Ali put a show on. He was talking, and he was loud.
Of course.
They brought a case of water up and whatnot, and got to they got to meet Ali. They have an autograph. My uncle has an autograph of Ali's brother. It's just there's just the whole thing. But and I always I picture Ali's camps like that as a picnic. When my grandfather used to tell me when I was younger, I used to always just kind of picture it as almost like a picnic, because every picture I ever see of it, it looks like people were just at a picnic. I mean, you see kids running around everywhere. If you ever see, especially the Deer Lake pictures of that cabin, it's kids everywhere. It's just people. There's back rooms. It seemed like a big gathering, like a potluck, and there's Ali, this giant figure right in the middle, and he's sparring with Joe Louis and a bunch of big boxers. So right there in the middle of Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, which is pretty cool. But he did that to get away from the media. My grandfather always told me when they always knew that Ali was coming around, because Ali knew that the media wouldn't follow him to the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. So that was always cool. That was always my cool connection with Ali. So as a young boy, I was very connected with Ali. I have so many quotes in my head about all my favorite quotes that he said and things like that. But what he also did, so on top of how I personally felt about him, how I personally always felt like I had a connection with him, it's really cool to see the nation view him in the light that they did since his passing, because I felt like what he did outside of the ring is as big as what he did inside of the ring.
Just as important, probably more so.
Standing up for his religion, standing up to the government, and taking out, it only ended up being 3.5 years, but taking out what he thought was going to be 5 years of his prime as the world heavyweight champion, and not boxing and not making that money just to make a point.
That's a hell of a statement.
In your mid-20s, I mean, we're in our mid-20s. I would hope that in that position, I do the same thing, but it's...
Dude, name an athlete today that does that. None. Zero.
The only things that athletes get behind today is things that are already very big and very popular. Right. Ali did something that was not very big or very popular, and he was extremely hated.
They made it a popular decision.
And yeah, it's... Right. Now, I would hope, and because, I'm a little hippie at heart, I always say if I could go back in time, I'd go back to, the 60s, probably the Woodstock era, all that stuff. I loved Ali, all that kind of stuff. I would hope at that time that I felt the same way that he did about that war, and I would have been in support of him. But there was a lot of people not even close to being in support of him. So...
Black or white.
Black or white. You're absolutely right.
Crazy.
You keep hearing things like he did things for race. He didn't do things for race. He is one of two African, not even African American. He's one of two black people in the 60s that I think didn't change race. They changed humanity. Bob Marley's the other one. The two of them were they were fighting for separate entities, but it wasn't just for white, black, Puerto Rican, or Asian. They were doing it for the entire human race. And that's why he touched so many people, I think. I think that's why this weekend we saw everything blow up the way it did, because he wasn't just, fighting for one common thing. He wasn't trying to let anybody like him. He was just trying to have everybody view a certain thing a certain way.
Right.
Which, at his age, it's 25 years old. I just can't imagine, like you said, what athlete would do that today? Put the money aside that you're about to make and just say, whatever.
Zero, dude. I really think about it. I mean, it's kind of a crappy comparison, but if you think about what Jordan was talking about with his shoes in the 90s, where he was like, he doesn't want to cross.
Yes.
He doesn't want to cross lines because other people are going to buy my sneakers.
That's talking about shoes. He's talking about shoes.
Right. So if we're talking about shoes,
that's not even a controversial topic.
Right. That's what I'm saying, is that he's taken that politically correct stance with sneakers.
Yes. Yes.
Nobody's touching anything near what Ali did. It was huge at the time.
And at the time he did it because there was a race. On top of it, the racial thing does add into it because he is an African American.
Right.
And in the 60s, there was a lot of racial things going on. So on top of, like you said, white and black people not liking him for making that decision, he was already not liked just because of the color of his skin in most circles.
That's what trips me up. Hearing them, obviously all the Ali stories are going on, and everybody has, now all of a sudden everybody has, great memories of him. I'm talking about like our generation below.
Yes.
But it trips me up because our generation below, in particularly, seem to think that this racial, these issues were a thing of like 100, 200 years ago.
Right.
But Ali was 74 years old, and he experienced it.
In his 20s.
This isn't that old people.
I agree.
There are people that are still alive. There are people within my history, a lot of people's history, whether it's black, Hispanic, or other, that have gone through this sort of thing. So I think it's pretty naive for people to think that this doesn't happen today. Is it better? Yes. Is it 100% where it needs to be? Absolutely not. It's got a lot better since Ali's time. Clearly, nobody's down that. But to turn a blind eye to it is naive and stupid to me. And I wish people would just get a better understanding of that. As far as Ali's concerned, obviously his boxing spoke for himself. Obviously, he did exactly what he said he was, which was be the best. There's that famous quote that's been going around. He said he was the best before he even actually was or truly believed it or whatever. Because he just bought into himself and he put himself into the sport. And that's something you don't really see today. Look at today's athletes and name somebody that you can turn to and say, you know what? That is somebody that owns their sport. They are the best, hands down. There's no question. There's no comparison. Yeah, I get it. He had to go through the Sonny Listons. He had, his famous battles with Foreman, et cetera, et cetera. But is there an athlete today that you can look at and be like, you know what? 10 years from now, we could say they are truly the greatest.
No, it's going to be.
You can't.
It's very rare. They say that they come from. Larry King said. I heard him in an interview. Larry King from CNN. I heard him say that. The legend is he was sitting there next to a fighter, a pro wrestler, in wherever he's from, somewhere in Kentucky, and the pro fighter's sitting there talking up his fight, right? He's sitting there, he's putting the banter and stuff like that, and Ali is just like whatever. He goes to his fight. The wrestling match outsold the boxing match 2-1, and ever since that day, Ali turned his whole entire thing into just making it an interesting fight. So it's really funny because as overbearing as he was, they used to say that like in the ring he'd be like, "Oh, we made a lot of money tonight, didn't we?" Like he was a little jokester about it because he wanted you to hate him, but at the same time he probably did not actually feel the way he felt with those things. We don't get a Conor McGregor or Floyd Mayweather. My favorite athlete of all time, Allen Iverson, doesn't exist in this world with it.
These characters, and what are they? They're all characters.
Right, characters.
Whether it's themselves or an exaggeration of themselves.
I think there's guys like Iverson, Marshawn Lynch, Edrin James. Like there's a list of people who are probably not actually characters. That's really how they act. But for the most part,
they have a personality.
Yeah, exactly. But they're allowed to show their personality because of what Ali did.
Definitely.
We all know how I like my athletes and artists. You know what I mean? I like them with a little bit of rashness, I guess is the best way to put it. Just a little. There's something wrong with them on the edges. Most people love them or they hate them type thing. And Ali was the first ever to really have that big of an impact across the nation.
And he backed it up.
And he backed up.
That's a huge difference amongst a lot of people.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. But one of my favorite things about Ali is that he always liked to have, like I said earlier, like to have kids around and stuff like that. He loved his fans. He's having an open viewing. He requested that it would be open to the public, and they're going to actually give free transportation from parking lots that are away from where the viewing is to the viewing. I just love how for the people he was, and he's so for the people that his family is honoring him the best way I think possible by doing things like this. The stories for days about how he's a gentle giant and everything can go on, but
he was very selfish in that regard. All he cared about was his fans. All he cared about was the human race. Yeah, I mean, obviously his sports and his fame, that was important to him as well.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it came down to his fans, the human race, and his religion.
Yeah,
that's all he really cared about. If you really break it down, and that just speaks volumes as to who he was as a person. Something I just wanted to touch base on because a lot of people, I don't even want to get all political, but he was a Muslim and he was very vocal about how they were a peace. Yeah. They were about peace and love and not about the extremists that have been going on in the world, especially for the past 10 plus years. I just would like and would hope that people can at least look at him now and be like, you know what? Look at him. He was preaching that this isn't how they are. There's extremists in all areas and all facets of life. So I think we, as a society, we should take his passing and view his religion and what he spoke about it, and maybe be like, okay, you know what? Maybe this isn't everybody, and we can just calm down and back the hell up as a society and just let the Muslims that aren't extremists and are just all about peace and love, let them be who they are. And that's what's also a shame is that he tried. Could you imagine? It's a shame because he had a Parkinson's because it stopped his speech. Yeah. He was the most vocal man out there.
Yes, of all time.
Could you imagine if he never lost that and he was an advocate and he could go out there
what he
and really, and really go out there and speak and just keep going year after year. I could have seen him, traveling the world, talking. I don't know if he would, talk, these extremists down, but at least, go out there and be a spokesperson. There's that's what I don't like about this day and age is that name the sports person for the human race. You can't name one. Because as far as I was concerned, Michael Jackson was the last spokesperson for the human race. Muhammad Ali might have been actually the last spokesperson for the human race. They're all about peace, all about unity, and about peace and love, and not all this dumb shit. It's a shame that we never got to experience what he could have brought forth as far as knowledge and as far as educating people, as far as being together and being one. It's a shame we never got to experience that.
To your religion aspect of it, he changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali. I mean, it's
huge.
Not, it's and people say his name like it's just, it's just his name. That is a very big deal in what he wanted it to stand for.
It was a huge, that's piggyback off that. It was a huge deal at the time. Yes. Very controversial. And now, like you said, people are just like, it's Muhammad Ali. Like it's normal. Like it wasn't okay then.
Muhammad Ali is a very, exactly. That's a radical name in comparisons of what they were doing at that time. Right. And to speak on the peacefulness of him, he was he signed every autograph. He sat out the war. He did all that kind of stuff. My favorite story of him is
took stanches.
He went into it was about 2 months before the Foreman fight, the Rumble in the Jungle, and he said there was a kid with a beanie on, and he said to the kid, "Why do you have a beanie on?" And it was in the middle of summer, and he said, "Well, because I have a certain stage of cancer." And Muhammad Ali looked at him and he said, "I'm gonna beat George Foreman. You're gonna be cancer." And about a week before the fight, he went and visited this kid at the hospital. The kid wasn't doing well at all. I don't think the kid made it to even see the fight. And he walked into the room and Muhammad Ali said, "Well, I'm going to beat George Foreman, you're still going to be cancer." And the kid said to him, "No, you're going to beat George Foreman. I'm going to tell God that I met Muhammad Ali." And but Muhammad, that's the impact he had on people's lives. And it's just like he was wow. Just from the smallest thing, like little conversations like that he affected so many people to him actually standing up and affecting so many people. It's the aspect of him, and as you were saying, there's different sides of extremism. This will help people see maybe that not all, a certain religion or race or this or that is one way.
If it changes one person, then it accomplishes something out.
I agree.
You would hope so.
I absolutely agree. But so, to the only man that could drown a glass of water and kill a dead tree, never seen nothing like Muhammad Ali.
R.I.P.
So, trying to transition from the greatest of all time in his passing and his legacy and how we could go on for days. The NBA Finals are going on.
And it's not the greatest of all time.
They're kind of a bit of a snoozer. So we thought that Kyrie and Kevin Love would help LeBron.
Who's we?
The nation.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Continue.
Everybody. No, but
I did as well. I did
thought
to the extent. To an extent.
No.
Yes.
I think we both agreed during last episode that it would at least be a closer series than it looked last year.
Definitely.
It's the polar opposite.
He definitely needed the help. Clearly last year, and I've admitted it as the LeBron hater that I am.
Yes, you have.
I've admitted. You know what?
He was by himself last year.
He bought out last year as much as he could. He was virtually by himself last year. This year he has all his pieces now, so I was like, no excuse, and I'm still saying no excuse, but they're still not here.
Well, it's hard to say.
He was better off not having them.
Well, it's hard to say no excuse. They missed a combined 40 shots in 2 games.
Ugh.
I think actually, you know what? I'll give him credit. I think it was 39. Combined. And Kevin Love didn't play for a whole half because he was injured. So
he got concussed.
Add another about 20 shots because they're both going to take about 10 shots each. That, I mean, you're not good. Not good at all.
Good. Horrible.
I'm fairly sure that Matt Barnes.
I was going to say
Matt Barnes.
Matt Barnes playing?
No, Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes and Sean Livingston. I'm fairly sure the two of them have taken the same amount of shots but only missed like 10 or 15 combined. So
as far as Caleb and what's his name?
And they missed 39.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. Well over double.
That's
and that's a stat from ESPN that I read today. So
horrible.
That's
horrible.
While we both agree, because honestly, as I was saying last week, what if this? I said it to you in the episode. I said, what if this happens? I said, what if Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving don't play well? Can we still sit here and say no excuse, LeBron? And I think that LeBron has done a whole heck of a lot, and I think he might have even done almost as much as he can. But no, there is an excuse. There is no excuse. Golden State.
I thought you said that is an excuse.
No. Golden State might just be that much better. I mean, there's no excuse. That might just be the fact. Like that just might be it, and that's crazy.
I think that is a fact.
But
that's kind of the fact I was leaning. Yeah. I mean, I was kind of. I didn't think it was going to be this much of a discrepancy up until this point. Mind you, this is only 2 games, so I mean, we'll get to that. But
yeah,
I mean, I was kind of on that bandwagon that no, this was just Steph Curry's year, and this is the team. This is their year to just get another ring. It's them. It's Steph Curry versus the NBA, as I called it. But man, this discrepancy though, it's not even close. They're not even. Cleveland has walked out of 2 games, and somehow. I said walk away with at least 1 positive.
Yes.
You can't name a single positive walking away from either game.
I thought that the first game
was horrible.
I thought the first game it got away from them at times, and it was like an accordion. It was getting away from them at times, they were making it close. Getting away from them at times, they were making it close. And they actually made it close there down the stretch, but couldn't get it done because it got just a little further away from them. Game 2
was just embarrassing.
Now, as bad as Kevin Love and Kyrie are playing, is Kevin Love playing good defensively? Because it was only a 5 to 10 point game before he went out. He goes out, and that game ballooned to a 30-point game very fast. I know because I don't think he's. I don't think he's at. No, I agree with that. He's not a 15 and 20 point difference like that. But my thing is he more valuable than we've ever given him credit for in the defensive end? Because there was a significant difference. No matter, I don't think they win the game with Kevin Love on there. I do want to make this I'm not sitting here saying I think the number of outcome is different, but I don't think the game outcome. I think the winner is still Golden State in the game, but. I do want to say that there was a clear difference when Kevin Love wasn't on the floor. As bad as he's playing offensively and as bad as Kyrie's playing offensively, when Kevin Love wasn't there was a clear difference defensively on how the Cavs looked, which was very odd to me.
I'm not giving any type of
credit. That's fine. We'll see how that goes. But I'm not sure. So that's why I wanted to know. And my other question is, how is it that the Cavs have figured out how to stop Klay Thompson and Steph Curry better than anybody? Because they didn't really stop them in game 2, but they slowed them down. They slowed them down. But compared to the rest of the league, they've done better in the first 2 games than anybody else has all season, and yet they don't even look like they're in these games.
No, they're not. They're not in.
But how's that happening?
I don't know. I mean,
that's a contrast, right? If I would have told you that through 2 games they would have combined under 40 points, Klay and Steph through 2 games. Combined, I think they have 41 if I'm not mistaken. So just over 40 points. There's no way you would have thought that they won. That's the
rest of the team. Literally, the rest of the team has just blown up.
It's incredible.
And Cleveland's just sitting there watching.
Yep.
Literally, I mean, we can go on and on about what Golden State is doing. I'm looking at what Cleveland isn't doing. You brought it up. We watched the game together. You brought up they're all standing around. Nobody's doing anything. It's ISO basketball out there with LeBron James.
Yes.
It's looking like OKC, except OKC was actually still getting it done when they were doing that.
You're right. Yeah.
And I got to bring it up, and you're probably gonna be mad, but I'm not gonna put full blame on LeBron because he isn't. He's not getting the help again. Yeah. I also will say that I'm not seeing the fire from him that I saw last year. I need to see. I don't care. Number one, you're the leader.
Yeah.
Number two, we call you the coach. So coach them up, lead them, get in their face, do something. Coach, tell them to move around, make plays, make shots, yell at them, something. I also need to see LeBron James as the freak that he is, which is over 6 feet tall, whatever pounds, all this muscle. I need to see him attack the basketball. Because you understand that last year, through 2 games, he had 28 free throw attempts?
Yes.
This year, he's had 8.
8, yeah, I know.
Attack.
I know.
Get to the basket. I don't want to see...
We didn't even talk about that stat. That's awesome.
Game 2, what was he doing? I don't know if he got annoyed, ticked off, or what, but he started jacking up like he was Steph Curry. Just running up to the... That's not your game, and never in your life do I want to see you do that, LeBron. It never will be your game. You are not that spot-up shooter.
Well, what did I say when we were watching the game together?
A grown-ass man, attack.
When he did that, I tell you all the time, my favorite thing about LeBron, the thing I can always defend about him, is that he's always going to make the smart basketball play. That play is not the smart basketball play. And
he did that like twice in a row.
Yeah, he did it 2 or 3 times in a row. And I said to you, I don't like that. I don't like, because that's him not even playing smart basketball anymore, and that's when LeBron's at his lowest.
So is he frustrated? Well, if he's frustrated with the team, then get in their face and coach them up. Leader.
I agree. Can I preview one thing? Because you said you were talking about how you didn't like it through 2 games. That game 1, he almost had a triple-double. Outside of the 8 turnovers, that was one of his best finals games he's played. I know it's really hard to separate because last year, every single game was literally some of the best finals games he ever played. But if you go back throughout even the years in Miami, what he did in game 1 was basically as good as he was when they were winning in Miami. And they almost won that game. I mean, like I said, it was accordion. They were far apart, close, far apart, close. But when they were close, it was because he was doing those things. And he even had moments in game 2 where he was getting up, getting big at the rim and stuff like that. But
and then he just fall back off.
But exactly. And now is that the Kevin Love and Kyrie? Because Kevin Love and Kyrie are the only 2 even taking shots outside of LeBron right now, which is ridiculous. But
J.R. Smith's got what?
I was going to bring this up in a minute.
Good Lord.
Let me ask you this first before I bring it up.
Stephen A. brought up last year. There's an APB out for him. Then what is on him this year?
Yeah, let me bring it up. We'll talk about that in a second because I want to finish this statement to you and I want to see how you feel about it. With those 2 missing the way they are, you were saying that LeBron's playing a little different. Do you think he's playing different because those 2 are missing that much, or do you think it's just because LeBron's out here consciously made that effort before?
I don't know. It kind of looks psychological that he does feel like he's done it before and it's failed, so now he's trying to do the opposite
that's
thing,
what's making
and
me
that's
think
failing
that's
even worse.
Making more passive aggressive, but that makes me think he's going to be way more aggressive in Game 3. We will get to that in a second. Back to J.R. Smith because I wanted to bring him up. He was the key to the series. I mean,
who is this guy? Wait, what's his name?
J.R. I think Smith.
Who shot J.R.?
Yeah, he's gone. Listen, this is not the first time it happens. It's just like, oh wow, kind of coincidence.
He had a bad game, whatever.
That he disappeared in the entire series last year. Twice, 2 series in a row against Golden State's not. It turns into a trend. Dude, you can't do it on the final stage. What is wrong? Because when he was just the last 2 series.
Thank you. That's what I was about to say.
It was incredible.
The entire team.
He looked like Jarrett Smith.
It's a distant memory now. They set the 3-point record that Golden State set. Then Golden State broke it again. But they set the 3-point record.
Channing Frye out here even taking threes.
Oh my God! I told you that I didn't think that they could win in a shootout. They're not even like.
They're not even trying to shoot.
No, they're not even shooting.
5 guys scored. 5 guys scored for. Or no, I think it was 7. 7 guys scored for Cleveland. I'm sorry, 7 guys scored for Cleveland in Game 2. 7. I'm fairly sure like 13 scored for Golden State. I mean,
and like 10 of them had over 10 points.
Yeah, that was Game 1.
Or something ridiculous stat.
But it's just the difference.
It's embarrassing.
In depth is bad. But
I said last week that I felt that the finals was actually the Western Conference Finals. It's starting to look that way.
Yeah, I know.
But is the West that horrible? I mean, yeah, the West. Is the East that horrible, or is the West just that good? I don't know.
I can't help you with that.
It's disgusting though.
My thing here
it's not fun, and this is national television. This is even just like
as a LeBron fan,
something small.
My thing as a LeBron fan, it's really rough to watch because
that record's going against his name regardless of if it's a team sport or not.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying.
So that's going to be.
I hear what you're saying. It's defendable, but there's.
Oof.
I mean, and I can't even. It's hard to watch him go through this in this finals because it's like
as much as I hate him, I don't even like not see him compete. I'm not even his biggest fan, but not see him at least compete right now at this point is just like.
I just feel bad for him because I feel like he's competing. I mean, like he was one thing away from a triple double in game 1. Like game 2.
Well, I mean, as far as like the games being close up to win.
Yes, I agree.
That's what I
agree. I would like to see him because he's still out here being LeBron James. It's just he's being LeBron James. And he's playing with a bunch of, he's playing with 4 guys who just can't compete with the other guys, and it's like he can't make it up.
I brought it up to you when we were watching the game. I mean, I don't know. I just said it, and the more I actually sat and thought about it, I was like, maybe I don't know if he doesn't get this one. I don't know if he gets another one. I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't know at this point.
I think that he has another. I said it before this year.
It is so up in the air.
I thought that this year he had a 3-year window. I think after this year he still has a 2-year window, but I think if he does it with the Cavs, it can't be with this roster. One of the first things he did when he got to the Cavs...
blow it up again?
One of the first things he did when he got to the Cavs was blow it up so that... And I honestly, and I said it when he did it, I thought it was so that he didn't feel bad if he had to do it again. Because he knew at that point he only had a 4 to 5 year window. So a year and a half, 2 years into this, he was going to have to make the decision, are these the riders or not? And if they're not, he only has now this offseason to figure out who he can get, what he can do, and how he can do it to get these championships. Because to your point, no, he doesn't have many... opportunities left, I would say. We'll get into what all that stuff during the offseason.
Yeah,
I have a lot of opinions on it, so I mean, definitely something we'll talk about. Quickly, I want to say about Golden State. If you were to pick an MVP through those first 2 games, I'm giving it to Luke Walton because the whole entire bench balled out.
I was gonna say I don't know, but this is the definition of team basketball.
It's impressive to watch.
I don't know. Defensively, they've been impressive. They're shooting it out.
The conversation after both games dominated to LeBron's legacy, this, that, and the next thing, and I'm just sitting here like we have, and I know I am the first person to point out that I don't think it's the most legitimate record-breaking team of all time, but we have the record-breaking wins of all time, about to maybe win a finals, and we're talking about LeBron's legacy. We're not even talking about how they could be the greatest basketball team of all time, greatest basketball season of all time.
Yeah.
It's not even a blip on the radar at the moment, and that's astonishing to me because they are so good that their 2 best players, their 2 top 5 players in the league, aren't even playing. You would grade them C's, I think, if you really had to. C's, B's on offense. And no, only because they just haven't needed to have the opportunities. Steph gets double teamed, he kicks the ball out, and somebody hits a 3. Clay, he moves the ball around if somebody gets in his face quick enough. It's just one of those. And then they
pass a lot.
And they're still making big shots, even though they're not scoring a ton of points. The shots they have made, I think, for the most part, especially Steph, big shots in the third quarter that separated the game. But the Golden State in general, it's incredible. It's insane. It's impressive to watch.
As far as Steph Curry is concerned, he made a comment last week. Because I guess somebody asked him about taking LeBron's spot or whatever, and he basically said he's not in the business of taking LeBron's spot. He's in the business of getting championships. Yep. And from the looks of things, for the foreseeable future, nobody's stopping this man.
Yeah, we'll see. My biggest worry, and I hope, and I knock on wood because I hope it does not happen. My biggest worry with him would be the injuries with the ankles and whatnot.
Yeah, it's huge.
Things just seems like it's rolling downhill for him. And as an Iverson fan, I can tell you small bodies don't work out well in the NBA long term.
Yeah, true that. And speaking of injuries, it's count him out. He's not even going to be on the Olympic team because he's going to get this procedure done so everybody can calm down. Everybody's like, oh, he's actually hurt. He's not even going to be on the Olympic team. So
it's incredible.
Real quick, just one more note. Phil Jackson made a comment. I don't know if you heard it. And I loved it. And that's just the way I'm going to end this on this. He said LeBron, it's time to put your cape on. And that's exactly what I need to see of him. I need to see him be that leader. I need to see him take control, whether it's verbally or on the court, just balling out.
If we see
I need to see him put that cape on. Not like Superman, like Dwight Howard.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I need to see him
be
the man.
If we see LeBron...
Because right now, Steph Curry's the man, and he's saying, you got to beat me.
If we see LeBron change, and I mean, I don't know if he can play any better than he did in Game 1, but if he plays the way he did in Game 1 for the 2 other losses... Can we really throw it on him that way? Because that game, like I said, the 8 turnovers was a big deal, but he was one rebound away from his triple-double.
We got to see how it plays out.
And in Game 2, he had 7 assists before the end of the first quarter. So, I mean, things, because his team only had 7 assists the entire first game.
Right. We got like I said, we got to see how it plays out, but like I also said, unfortunately, that number will be attached with them, so... got to see where he stands.
Well, moving on from the finals quickly, because as much as that's a heartbreaker, and I'm not huge happy about that, I'm actually less happy about what's happening in the NHL right now. As of this recording, there was 3 close games. Actually, this will be up before the Game 4 gets. Game 5 happens.
Yeah.
There's been 3 close games, and
what's
in the series?
What's the record?
The Penguins are up 3-1.
Damn. Really?
Yeah. The only one they lost was in overtime. I think every game's been a 1-goal game, at max a 2-goal game. The Penguins I would say dominate on the ice, right, overall, but the score has never been too far apart to think that the Sharks are completely out of it. Down 3-1, I don't see it happening. I think that the Penguins basically are going to have it wrapped up. Chances are probably at home Thursday, but
the same OKC Golden State situation.
Right, we know how I feel, so I'm obviously still pulling for the Sharks. We'll see. It's been, for it to be a 3-1 series, it's actually been an interesting series, and I got to give it to both teams. I think it's been a very entertaining series, close matchup. Just
so
it's hockey.
Competing out there.
It's hockey, and it sometimes it just falls that way. And unfortunately, as a Flyers fan, and unfortunately for the Sharks, it's just falling in the Penguins' way, and they're getting their best players to score that goal at the biggest time. Nobody's really taking a lot of shots either way. It's a very good defensively played hockey game both ways, almost in every game. So unfortunately, it looks like the Penguins are probably going to wrap it up, but we'll see. Still got to hope for the Sharks.
I don't know about all that, but...
And our last topic of the day.
Man.
I'm not the biggest UFC fan, so I did not watch the fight this weekend. I knew a little bit about it.
I was busy.
Right, and that's just kind of how, it goes. So we're not really going to cover the fight. The underdog won, the guy who shouldn't have won. He wasn't prepared. He only had a couple weeks to prepare. He ends up winning. Big deal. Huge moment for that guy.
I think it was a middleweight belt.
Middleweight belt.
Impressive.
Right before he goes on, right before he comes out to the ring, some news broke. Some big news around the UFC broke. Brock Lesnar.
Brock! Where's Paul Heyman?
Yep, going to be fighting at UFC 200.
Do you realize that's like in a couple weeks?
Huge. I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
I'm watching.
We're watching it together. Yeah, we knew that. You already knew that. Anything with Brock Lesnar, you already know I'm
probably ordering it.
I love me some Brock Lesnar. So he was my favorite part of WrestleMania. I love Brock Lesnar.
Where the hell did this come from?
Well, I don't know. I have no clue. So he's fighting at UFC 200, and then
you want to talk about that quick?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're gonna get that in a second.
Okay.
Because UFC 202, there was a tweet sent out about Conor McGregor also fighting. But
kind of called that as far as like letting it go. And 202, nobody's gonna care about that. Everybody cares about 200.
So
nobody cares about 202. That's the way to get people to buy it because nobody's gonna care. So Dana did it right.
So quickly,
we did that right.
We'll dive into the Brock Lesnar thing quickly, and then we'll go into my broader topic of why I brought all of this up. But we'll get there. But the Brock fight, is this a good move on the WWE's part?
I don't know. It's kind of weird to me. He's fighting a guy named, I think it's Mark Hunt. Is it Mark Hunt? I forget his first name. My apologies. Regardless,
I don't watch UFC, so I apologize as well.
Honestly, I don't watch it enough. I've never heard this guy actually, so I looked him up. Now his record is apparently doesn't mean anything because everybody's saying that he's actually like legitimate, and Brock might have a little bit of an issue with him. His record's only 12-10. So,
You know what I like about the UFC though? You know what I do like about the UFC?
What's that?
You're gonna lose.
You're gonna lose, but I mean 12-10.
No, I agree. That's kind of a close record for
you and I. Where it's like, oh, that's weird and that's kind of horrible.
Yes.
But from everything that I've read or heard, people are saying no, he's not a pushover. So I don't know why.
Maybe he was taking on guys like Brock Lesnar his whole career. That's why he's 12-10.
I mean, maybe. I mean, from what I was able to gather, I guess as far as Vince's side, because he's technically still on a contract. He's going to do SummerSlam in August the following month with WWE. So it's like, wait, well, how's this happening?
Brock's just trying to
because UFC and WWE they
don't get along.
They pretty much hate each other. From the rumor going around is that basically Lesnar a couple months ago before WrestleMania was kind of hinting that he wants to have that one more UFC fight, and Vince was just like, no. I guess they negotiated or talked it out, whatever, and Vince said, okay, you can go out and do the one while you're on the contract. Fine. While you're not doing anything with us, go ahead and do that. Because he only works X amount of dates a year for WWE as it is. Good for him, because he's making all this money doing nothing, and then he goes home to Sable, of all people. But anyway, so he gets to do this one fight. he's pretty much disappeared since WrestleMania, so now
Right.
we understand what he's been doing this whole time.
Training.
Getting himself back up. He had to retire because of his, little health issue.
Right.
So I guess he just wants to go out on his terms, have one more fight. Good for him.
He said, quote, I feel like I was robbed of my chance to ending the UFC.
Yeah, he wasn't done. He wasn't done. He felt like
he wanted one more at least.
Yeah, he wanted to do so much more. What's going to suck, and this is why I'm saying I don't know how to feel about him facing this guy, because everybody's saying that he's not a pushover. So I don't know how to feel about if he's doing this. I'm assuming Vince would be like, okay, because the next month we're hyping up SummerSlam. There's going to be this little bit of a there's going to be this cross promotion. You don't need to get hurt because you're a big star. You're a draw here. You're under our contract. 1, 2. You're not going to look the best if you get knocked out. That I'm trying to hype you up for our thing.
Yeah.
Oh, get it. It's fake or whatever,
win.
but you got to still continue that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of weird to me in that regard. So we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, we are.
I would still put my money on Brock Lesnar. He's a beast. He's the beast incarnate, as Paul Heyman would say. The other thing, real quick, it kind of does open the door. Somebody brought up to my attention that WWE and Vince have been trying like hell to get Ronda Rousey to do something. One match at WrestleMania.
They could do it. Dana White could probably help back.
You would think so. They don't get along. Dana White's been on record pretty much dogging, trashing. He hates wrestling, but then he kind of likes it. Then he respects it. Now he has this kind of like partnership. Yeah. It's kind of coming full circle. So can we see Ronda in WWE at some point?
That's interesting. That would be the.
They wanted her for WrestleMania.
Yes.
With her, The Rock against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. That would have been huge. Is it going to come back around at some point? You would think that Vince would be like, scratch my back now.
Yeah. It'd
be interesting.
It's weird. You said about how Dana White was like this, and then he was like this, and then he was like that. And it kind of went full circle how he was like here, and then he was here. It seems like he's really shady. That's the second story I've heard about him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I talked about how these 2 fights were tweeted out, right?
First of all, isn't he supposed to be selling this damn thing? I haven't heard anything since. Anyway, go ahead. Maybe Vince is going to buy it.
Hey, good for Vince.
He wants to own the world, so it wouldn't surprise me.
He would have to, maybe he could put Stephanie McMahon in charge of the UFC and then
name it the XFC.
Yeah.
Extreme Fighting Championship. Paul Heyman might be mad about that anyway.
So the 2 fights that we brought up about being tweeted out right before the main event on Saturday, they were tweeted out by a Fox Sports reporter who is the biggest reporter for the UFC. He has the most followers. He has the most inside information on the UFC. This, that, and the next thing. He got escorted out between the fight and the main event. That's the second last fight in the main event, and was told he was banned from UFC for life.
For?
Tweeting out that those 2 contracts were about to be signed.
Wait. Time out.
He's a reporter.
Is that not his job? Is that not what he does? Is report rumors and news? Is that not his job?
Well, to logical people like you and I, yes, but to Dana White, I don't think. I don't. Look, here's my thing. Is the guy he was at your event. He was at the UFC event, live tweeting the UFC event. So obviously when these contracts are getting signed backstage or wherever they're getting signed, he wasn't standing there like, haha, look at me, taking a picture, tweeting it out, standing in the back room with these people. Somebody called him. Somebody texted him. He was in a building watching your event. You kicked him out for being told information and then doing his job.
That is his job, to report information provided to him.
Get the gopher. Don't kick him out. Go get the gopher if you're this angry about it.
He was not in that room. Guaranteed. He was doing the event.
He was doing the event.
He was not in that room when this stuff went down.
No, he didn't. He didn't see the contracts get signed. He got texted, called, tweeted, something. Somebody connected something with him.
He didn't even say it was factual. They just said that.
He said rumor. He said what I heard was basically that the contracts are about to be signed on this deal and this deal. And
is Adam Schefter's job next? Because that's kind of what he does.
That was honestly what I was going to say. This is basically Goodell, who shout out to the internet hackers who.
We didn't even talk about it. Yo, okay, time out. First of all, it's kind of ignorant. It's not funny. It's disrespectful, but it's also kind of funny because I was like, okay. In case you didn't know, somebody hacked the NFL's Twitter account and was saying Roger Goodell's dead, and then they deleted it.
It's not funny. It's not funny.
But then they deleted it, and the person was like, oh, man, don't delete this. And then, the third time, the person was like, made fun of them because they were like, all right, you bums, whatever. And then it got to think, I was like, what was their password? How did Brady don't cheat? What? Deflate me?
I forget who it was.
What was the password?
It was Robin Lundberg from ESPN. He tweeted...
It's not funny because it was messed up.
He tweeted, somebody go see if Tom Brady has a second telephone destroyed.
So wrong.
But this would be
seriously.
But what happened in the UFC would basically be the equivalent of Roger Goodell going after Adam Scheffler for tweeting out that
rumor is
the Rams are going to pick Jarrett Goff first overall.
That's the rumor going on. That's what I'm hearing.
It's ridiculous.
The day of, an hour or two before.
It's just ridiculous that you kick him out and then you ban him for life for getting information, reporting on his job, and he was also your biggest connection to the fans. Now, my thing
He's very popular.
is you can have the debate, and there's been a couple places I've seen it. The UFC, not only the UFC, no sports organization, the NFL, WWE, MLB, NHL, all these, NBA, they don't need writers, Twitters, medias. They don't need any of that anymore. They can do all of their own on self-promotion.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need the media the way they needed them, 20 years ago even. So, yes, he did that to make a statement, but the other aspect of it is you're tweeting or you're kicking out somebody who made your sport extremely popular, and you're not showing any loyalty to that person at all.
How are the other reporters supposed to feel?
And not just that, because I was going to go there as well, and that's a great point.
They're not going to be trigger happy. They're going to be like gun shy. Like they're going to be like, I can't do that.
What did you do in house to solve this problem? Because all you to me did was make an example of the wrong person, and you hurt somebody who truly affects your sports, help your sports, get your sport to go forward, tweets positive things about your sports, goes on national shows. He is called to go talk. Your sport is not popular. Your sport is probably fifth in line right now. I mean, NASCAR and UFC, I think UFC is probably passing NASCAR, but they're still on a level together. And the thing is, that's a debate. You have somebody sitting here who is getting called to ESPN and all the big major sports networks to talk on it. He works for Fox Sports. And
Lesnar is a big name, so
you have connections with Fox Sports. He is Fox Sports' biggest. Everything you do is through Fox Sports. And he is the biggest Fox Sports reporter for your. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't like the mentality that while he doesn't need the media, I completely agree. The UFC doesn't need the media. As somebody who would one day, I've aspired to always be in the media since I was a kid, and now hopefully want to do this for a living. I just the disrespect that I feel for that guy. There's just no reason. He loves you. He loves what you're doing. He did this because he loves your sport, and you are.
What did he do wrong?
I just there's no.
Did he have a gag order?
And why do you have to tell him in that exact moment you're banned for life? What is that?
And they took the other dudes there with them.
Well, they actually no. He actually tweeted out that they told those two that they could stay, and they told the guys, if you're kicking him out, we're going.
Oh, nice. Wow.
And they're actually really big reporters for the UFC as well. So you had three of your biggest reporters in the entire UFC making a stand against you. I mean, the one thing we have seen in America, and people can go on race and go whatever, religion, everything they want to, the media can control the public sometimes. So if you have a bunch of reporters talking nothing but bad things about your sport might not really make it fan-wise. And the one thing, and I know Dana White doesn't need reporters to get to fans, but if you have fans feeling a certain way because of reporters, that will affect you one day. And you don't need the negative. You don't. Look at NASCAR. NASCAR went through a really bad portion in time with their fans, and they were trying to rebuild themselves. Now, they were really popular in the 90s and early 2000s. They, the Earnhardt stuff happened. Next thing you know, just they lost connection with their fans some way, shape, or form, and now they're trying to rebuild themselves. They're at the bottom of the barrel, right? Exactly. So you don't want to,
It's a shame.
the UFC is becoming popular. It's more popular than boxing now. It's up there. It's
right. You don't need additional negative press for no reason.
And on the human element of it, to me, is just he's not getting paid by you. He's getting paid by somebody else to do a job, and you are telling him he's not allowed to do his job.
Especially for life. Can he get a warning?
And
Be like, look, we don't appreciate that you did this, and here's why.
The life thing bothers me because, I'm a huge hockey fan, I'm a huge football fan, I'm a huge whatever. If I'm in one of those sports and I get kicked out and I'm told I'm never allowed to go attend another NHL game again, I'd be devastated. I'd be for doing my job. That would just be that would be so heartbreaking because he loves the sport, and that's the side of it that I really just irks me.
Yeah, it sucks. I don't think Dana has come out and said anything, but
the thing I don't like about Dana White is that he wants to be the face of everything when everything's big, bad, and good. But when things like this happened, he has zero. The NFL at least makes a statement when they mess up. The NBA they make a statement whether it's the right one or not. They make a statement. They make a statement. They don't run from things, and I don't like them. They don't run from things. The NBA, transparency is a big thing with them. The two biggest sports organizations in America, that what you want to strive to be, do the exact opposite of what you just did, and they handle it after they do that exactly the opposite of how you're doing it. That's not the right direction to me.
No, actually, this isn't the first time. Apparently, Dana's kind of come at him.
Yeah.
I saw some tweets that were screenshotted. This was months ago, I guess. Yeah. He was hyping up. He was saying, rumor has it there's gonna be a big fight in March or something. Yep. And Dana White tweeted at him for the world to see, basically saying, "You're full of shit. Mm-hmm. You don't know what you're talking about." Basically, and it was just like, if there was an issue there, why didn't you kind of come at him then? As far as like, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, or you making stuff up. What? Regardless, why? First of all, why are you making it public? Second of all, why didn't you address a situation like this then and squash it before it got to a situation where now you just want to ban him for life?
Let me add one more thing to it. Why do you have to be so big and bad behind on a Twitter keyboard? You're full of shit. Like, who are you
keyboard warriors?
Who are you trying to intimidate Dana White by saying you're full of shit? Actually, wasn't there 3 weekends in a row where the UFC did 2 cable events and then a big tele event in the middle, a pay-per-view event?
And it turned out like a couple days later, apparently, that big fight he was rumoring actually came to be true.
But why are you so salty against this? And if you're mad at him for being so good at his job, why don't you hire him?
Look, if you don't want this
Give
stuff,
him a job.
If you don't want this stuff to be leaked and you feel like it's kind of just ruining things, then put a ban on it altogether.
Get less people in the room when you're signing these contracts. I don't know. You can't control agents. Agents are going to call the media. And you know what I would do if I was this guy before? I'm sorry not to cut you off. If I was the guy who got kicked out, I would be on the phone with my goffers, all the ones giving me information. I'd be saying, "You're giving me every piece of dirt you have," and from the sidelines,
can't do anything now.
From the sidelines, while I'm sitting at home, I will tweet out every little thing you give me just to prove my point. Like, because you know how much information reporters actually hold and don't give to the public.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the ridiculous amount of information that they hold and don't give to the public is insane. If I was him, the revenge would be so bad because the UFC would every little secret they had would just be out in the open. It probably would have been in the open before that main event was over on Saturday, and nobody would even cared. People don't. People are still talking about this more than they know the actual fight. I mean, that's not good.
I haven't heard anything about the fight.
I heard 2 things about it. It was just that it was an upset.
I haven't heard anything. That's dog shit. They don't need. Yep. There's been 2 things. That and the other thing that we didn't even touch base on was the Kimbo Slice passing.
Rest in peace, Kimbo Slice.
Yeah. All due respect, rest in peace, Kimbo Slice.
Absolutely.
It's a shame he died. Pretty young. Mm-hmm. But again, the 2 things that people were talking about as far as he wasn't in the UFC, but he was
connected with the UFC.
Right. The 2 big things that people are talking about now today is that and Kimbo Slice passed away. Nobody is talking about your big event, the big upset that just transpired. I did not hear. You said you heard something. I didn't hear a single thing up until this point, and this is 3 days later. So it's not a good look. You need all the good publicity you can get at this point. You're going into UFC 200, your biggest event of all time up until this point. You need to go in on a high. Yep. You don't need to have this BS, and you don't need to have. If you go on their social media, they're getting attacked. Every post, everything's talking about him. The top comment, the top like comment, is about this reporter.
This isn't.
You don't need that type of publicity.
This isn't when Vince McMahon was trying to start a little feud with the fans, trying to get popularity. This is you genuinely making bad decisions and having the fans not like. The fans actually played into it because they thought it was fun that Stone Cold and the rest of them could actually beat up on you. You're hiding behind things. Vince, when he had the fans dislike him, he was in the ring getting beat up. You know what I mean? And where you're here, you're just genuinely, consciously making moves of having the fans not like you, and then you're not addressing them. You're not doing. You're just letting these moves lay, and whatever.
He's just being a keyboard warrior with power that's trying to get rid of his power. So
it's incredible. I don't get it, but
it doesn't make any sense.
That's how it goes. So we'll see with that moving forward.
Definitely.
Last thing for me is happy birthday, Allen Iverson turned 41 this week. My favorite athlete of all time. He's having a big 2016 has been a really bad year for not just me personally, but it feels like for the world. Allen Iverson.
This has been one of the worst years.
Allen Iverson's having a good 2016. He got inducted to the Hall of Fame. It's been 15 years since he stepped over Tyronn Lue, which means 15 years since Kobe and Shaq won a championship. But even bigger, for some reason, social media over the last, I would say 6 months, right around the Hall of Fame stuff, he's become like this icon again. I've seen more about him over the last couple months than I've ever had before. And as a huge Iverson fan, somebody who's always doing stuff, looking at Iverson things and highlights and interviews and all that, it's awesome that I don't have to actually search it anymore. I can just see it on my time feed or whatever.
He's getting his just due now. He's getting the respect that he probably always deserved. I always got on him because I was a Laker
right.
It was just that natural thing. But I respected what he did. Like, he's an incredible little man, and he tore it up.
Yeah, well, but anyways, happy birthday, 40. Absolutely. 41 for Allen Iverson, number 3. Can't wait for the Hall of Fame stuff this year. But so next week we will be talking about wrap up of the finals. I assume if it ends between now and then,
Maybe.
wrap up of the cup if it ends between now and then.
Likely.
Probably a little bit of basketball, and if anything else happens in the world of football or UFC or whatever, we will definitely be covering.
I mean,
it,
this was a big week. Hopefully, we won't have any more negative news.
Yeah, I don't want to hear no more Ali or Kimbo Slice news.
I don't want to hear no more news for the next, like, I'm good for like the next 6 months. We're good on this, celebrity death shit right now.
Yeah, seriously.
Bro.
So, alright, well. Thank you for watching JD Sports. I'm Jarrett Hood. That's Lloyd Garfield.
Ali, Bomaye.
Ali Bomaye.